आज हम करेंगे द एलिजी रिटन इन अ कंट्री चर्चयार्ड, जो कि हमारे बीए सेकेंड ईयर के सिलेबस में लगी हुई है। ये थॉमस ग्रे के द्वारा लिखी गई कविता है, द एलिजी रिटन इन अ कंट्री चर्चयार्ड। तो जो थॉमस ग्रे है वो उनका जन्म 26 दिसंबर 1716 को हुआ था। बर्थ प्लेस उनका लंदन है। उनकी डेथ जो हुई थी वो 1771 में हुई थी। और ये थे। So, early life. Fifth of 12 children, the only child of Philip and Dorothy Gay to survive infancy, he lived with his mother after she left his abusive father. एजुकेशन, ये इनकी एजुकेशन थी। मतलब ये इतनी इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है ये चीज़ें, लेकिन फिर भी एक बार जो भी बी ए फर्स्ट बी एस मतलब जो भी आप पोएम पढ़ें उससे पहले पोएट के बारे में जान लेना बहुत सही होता है। एजुकेटेड एट एटन कॉलेज वेयर हिज अंकल वाज वन ऑफ द मास्टर्स, अ डेलिकेट एंड स्कॉलरली बॉय हु स्पेंट हिज टाइम रीडिंग एंड अवॉइडिंग एथलेटिक्स. Three close friends at Eton: Horace Walpole, son of the Prime Minister Robert Walpole, Thomas Aston, and Richard West. 1734, went to Peterhouse, Cambridge, left without a degree. Receipt of legacy from his paternal aunt meant that he had no urgent need to find a job. Poetry. 1745, his friendship with Walpole was renewed. Walpole admired his poetry and persuaded him to publish. 1747, Ode on a Distant Prospect of Eton College, Ode on a Spring, Ode on the Death of a Favorite Cat. Drowned in a tub of goldfishes. His elegy written on a country churchyard took him 9 years before it was published, from 1742 to 1751. So this poem was published in 1751. 1757, The Bard and the Progress of Poesy. Norton Nicholas, his love interest and undergraduate, whose knowledge of Dante impressed him. 1751, Journey Among Two English Lakes. 1768, Fatal Sisters, The Descent of Odin and the Triumphs of Owen. Last years, 1751, he proposed to visit Benstetten in Switzerland during the summer but was struck by a sudden illness and died after a few days. He was buried in St. Giles Churchyard in Stoke Pages next to his mother. About the poem. This poem is written in 128 lines poem. It is a 128 lines poem. It is about the subject of human mortality. The speaker urges the reader to remember him for his human frailty, that he is indeed common with every man. Poem invokes the classical idea of memento mori, a Latin phrase which states plainly to all mankind, remember that you must die. In death, there is no difference between great and common people. It idealizes and elevates the common man. Summary of the poem. It was an evening time. The poet is standing in the churchyard. The ringing of a curfew bell is heard. A herd of cattle from pasture started returning home. Farm workers, after hard work, started going homes, indicating that the activities of daytime are drawing to a close. The poet is then left alone to contemplate the isolated rural scene. The poet sets a melancholy atmosphere by describing the ringing of curfew bell in somber tone. The curfew bell does not simply ring, it knells, a term usually applied to bells rang at a death or funeral. From the very beginning, Gray reminds us of human mortality. There is a tone of sincere melancholy throughout. He started composing the verses of this poem by bringing before his mind's eyes the churchyard at Stock Pogs. The poem begins with the description of the churchyard at Stockpoges. Toward sunset, he alone stands by the side of the graveyards. The curfew or the evening bell warning the people to retire to rest has tolled. The farmer is returning home after his day's work. It is dark all around, and the air itself is silent in a solemn manner without any breeze. The cattle are going homeward, and none is to be seen except the poet standing by the side of the graveyards. The whole atmosphere is serene, nothing is heard except the hooting of the owl and the drowning sound of the beetle and tinkling of the bells of the herd in distant folds in the village. Even those noises are feeble, showing that the beetle and cattle are tired. There is indeed one sound which is not drowsy. The sound of an owl hooting intrudes upon the evening quiet. The hooting of the moping owl appears that it complains to the moon that the poet is trying to destroy her ancient solitary reign. The hooting of owl adds to the gloom, since it appears to be complaining about persons that go near her lovely living place. There is no companion for the poet at that time except darkness. In such an atmosphere, the poet is found by himself by the side of the churchyard. The melancholy atmosphere is suited to the poem. Theme: it mourns the death not of great people but of common men and meditates on the nature of human mortality. That in death there is no difference between great and common people. If among the lovely people buried in the churchyard there had been any natural poets or politicians whose talent had simply never been discovered or nurtured. Elements: classical elements, use of alternately quatrains of iambic pentameters already present in Dryden, use of abstract personifications like ambition, grandeur, etc., universality of themes, death, obscurity, contentment, etc., idyllic view of country life, excessive time required to polish each stanza, thus excluding immediacy of inspiration. Clear influence of poetic classics such as Dante, opening lines, Lucretius, stanza 6, or Petrarch, which is ending. Graveyard poetry, a type of poetry presenting melancholic reflections on mortality, framed in narratives involving visits to graveyards and other reminders of death. One of the most celebrated examples of this type of verse is Thomas Gray's Elegy written in Country Churchyard. With its personal and introspective concerns, such verse has been seen as significant as part of a transitional phase between publicly focused neoclassical verse and romantic lyricism. But it is of interest not only as a stepping stone in literary history, involving a focus upon loss and with extensive analysis of links, such words played a part in wider culture of sensibility. Meter and rhyme scheme. Gray wrote the poem in four-line stanzas, quatrains. Each line is in iambic pentameter. Each line has five pairs of syllables for a total of 10 syllables. In each pair, the first syllable is unstressed or unaccented, and the second is stressed or accented. As in the two lines that the open poem, the curfew tolls the knell of parting day. The lowing herd went over the slowly or the lea. In each stanza, the first line rhymes with the third and the second line rhymes with the fourth, as follows. The speaker uses sad diction and symbols such as owl, death, grave, sleep also. The owl symbolizes death. The setting, the time is the mid 1700, about a decade before the Industrial Revolution began in England. The place is the cemetery of a church. Evidence indicates that the church is St. Giles in the small town of Stokes, Buckinghamshire in southern England. Gray himself is buried in that cemetery. William Penn, the founder of the Pennsylvania, once maintained a manor house at Stockpogis. Figures of speech, alliteration, repetition. Plowman homeward plowed his weary way. The cock shrilled clarion or the echoing horn, nor cast one longing, lingering look behind. Now drooping, woeful when like one forlorn. Now alliteration क्या होता है? Alliteration होता है जो consonants होते हैं उनका repetition. ठीक है, जैसे plowman homeward plods his weary way. The cock shrilled clarion. तो cocks, clarion, echoing, ये सब क्या बनाते हैं? कॉन्सोनेंट का रिपीटेशन है, इसे एलिट्रेशन कहा जाता है. Metaphor. Full many a gem of purest ray serene, the dark unfathomed caves of ocean bare. Full many a flower is born to blush unseen and waste its sweetness on the desert air. Comparison of the dead village people to gems and flowers, or heap the shrine of luxury and pride with incense kindled at the muse's flame. Metonymy. Use of a word or a phrase to suggest a related word or a phrase. To scatter plenty over a smiling land. Land stands for people. Personification. Let not ambition mock their useful toil, their homely joys and destiny obscure. Nor grandeur here with a disdainful smile, the short and simple annals of the poor. Ambition and grandeur take on human characteristics, but knowledge to their eyes her ample pays rich with the spoils of time did near unroll. Notice that knowledge becomes a person, a female, fair signs frown not on his humble birth, and melancholy mark him for her own. So this was the poem Elegy written in a country churchyard, which is written by Thomas Gray. And this poem is prescribed in BA second year syllabus of Maharishi Dayanand Saraswati University. If you have any question, any query regarding this poem, you can ask me in the comment section. Thank you.